Heavy is the neck that wears the lanyards. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the College Football Kickoff Show, the Saturday Lanyard edition of the College Football Kickoff Show. The Oregon Ducks, winners last night, now join the 5-win party that will continue to grow over the next month and a half or so. Oregon with a 31-10 win over Michigan State last night. I did get to watch a little bit of it, not too much. But Oregon now needing only one more win for bowl eligibility, but they got bigger fish to fry, bigger aspirations on the brain. Yeah, you know how it is when you're not necessarily at the top, but in the general vicinity, the periphery. And if I'm not careful, I might be making up a word that will probably be adopted into the lexicon of crazy words. So with that being said, it's time to make the lanyard selections. We're going to go high noon first, and we are going to start things off. And originally, I had not planned on doing this. Being that we got two service academies playing against each other today, that would be Navy and Air Force, which will officially kick things off, I am going to make a pick. I am going to make a pick between Navy and Air Force, and I am hoping that Navy continues the run that they're on right now, because that Army-Navy game already just, loaded with all the necessary ingredients that you could possibly want without the ego and, everything else about every other rivalry in the country. If there's one thing I do wish, I wish for Army and Navy to go into their final game undefeated. I would love that. But today, Navy is visiting Air Force, which, to my understanding, it's a 10 a.m. kick time out there in Colorado. And I would imagine the Navy will be more than ready for what would normally be a high noon kick. And it still kind of sort of is for Navy anyway. But Navy, I'm going to go with them over Air Force. That game, by the way, you will see on CBS. SMU visiting number 22 Louisville. This is very interesting considering that Louisville's ranked. SMU, I would imagine if they win today, they might very well be ranked. I almost want to liken this as a crossroads game, but it's not quite a crossroads game. It's an attractive matchup. It's a conference matchup, and it's one that has to be taken with the right grain of salt. I don't know if SMU is technically ready to take on the challenge on the road, and I'm still kind of, I need to see more from Louisville to prove that they are worth the ranking they've been given. So I'm going to pick Louisville here, but I'm doing it with a little ounce of skepticism in regards to whether or not they are the real deal. Yes, I understand they came close to beating Notre Dame, but, different breed of animal. Meanwhile, Pitt and North Carolina. And I liken this to a trap game. Pitt's undefeated. They're not ranked. No problem. North Carolina is down to their number 3 quarterback. Big problem. However, I'm one of those people that looks at this game as a trap game because anytime you don't properly prepare your team for what you're about to go into, more often than not, you're not going to walk out of the stadium with a W in your back pocket. If Pitt is to get bowl eligibility, they need to win games like this. And the biggest matchup I'm anxious to see is whether or not they can stop Amari and Hampton. But, once they do that, the game pretty much, I think, prides itself on being I don't want to say a runaway, but Pitt would almost, by and large, have the game in the back pocket, providing they don't make mistakes today. Can they? Can they win? I think they will, but there's a part of me that's really, really uncomfortable about the pick here, mainly because North Carolina is a desperate team and they have to play that way. Now, in the grand tradition of Mr. Nick Saban, the legendary former head coach at Alabama, I take a sip from the Coke bottle. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Almost a quarter after 8. In fact, it is a quarter after 8 in the morning, and we're drinking Coke. Yeah. My idea of a tailgate, wear lanyards and drink Coke. Well, last week was better. I had a tailgate of my own, and it was courtesy of W&J College. We had a tailgate lunch. It was excellent. And plus I was wearing credentials. Anyway, we won't. By the way, W&J today is playing at Westminster. Go get 'em, boys. It's 0-0. NC State hosting Wake Forest on the CW at noon. I think this is a safe pick, although it does come with a bit of a caution label on it. NC State hasn't overwhelmed anybody this year, and they really haven't looked like the same team that we saw from the previous year. Yes, they struggled a bit at times. The scores may not look like you would want them to, but I think a game against I don't want to call Wake Forest soft, but you have to figure a conference game and a conference win at home against a team like Wake Forest will do some wonders maybe. Speaking of the ACC, we will stay in it for Boston College and Virginia. The ACC network has it at high noon, and I'm going to go with BC because I think Bill O'Brien's got the Golden Eagles on the direct flight path to bowl eligibility. They win this one. I'm not sure on the records because I don't have them in front of me, at least not yet. We haven't gotten to the point where we need to look at records. But Boston College, I'd imagine, will win that one on the road today. Missouri is visiting Texas A&M down in College Station. ABC's got this one at high noon. Everybody talks about that being a big game, and it kind of sort of is. Ranking-wise, I forgot to put if Missouri's still ranked, now I'm going to have to use the CBS Sports app to find my place on this one, because shoot. Let's see. AP poll, what do we got? Missouri's ranked number 9. Oh, dear God. We can't pick this game yet. Wow. How did I miss this one up? Good thing I caught it in time. Guess what? Missouri and Texas A&M are, in fact, going to be a big one selection. We called the audible, and now we got it. So, Missouri and Texas A&M, hold on to your hats. I'll make that pick later. Whew. You want to talk about catching a ball in traffic. Wow. It was like a Hail Mary play. How did I miss that? I had all week, didn't really have time to look at all the rankings. I thought with, the big one, the one that had penciled in for this week, Slippery Rock and IUP, which will be made at the very end. I thought that'll be enough right there. But yeah, Missouri and Texas A&M, it is a big game. 9 versus 25. In fact, Texas A&M and UNLV going into this week were tied at number 25 with UNLV losing in overtime last night to Syracuse. So we're not making that pick yet. We are, however, going to finish out the 12 p.m. window of picks with Penn State hosting UCLA. No further questions, Your Honor. Purdue at Wisconsin. Do we even go down that road again? Well, no. It was brought to the nation's attention that Wisconsin's starting running back had to step away from the team due to injuries. I don't know the whole story, not that I need to go into it because we got all these other Lanyards and game day picks to make. So I want to think Wisconsin's going to do just fine. And oh, by the way, Purdue fired their offensive coordinator, former Texas Tech quarterback. God, I wish it was Patrick Mahomes. Graham Harrell. So this is somewhat of a strange game going in with unknown commodities on both sides, but I still think Wisconsin comes out on the winning side. They need to get back on track after the loss to USC last week. So that's the 12 p.m. window. We're taking these off. Do we take them off or do we leave them on? You know, we're gonna break tradition just this one time. That's the 12 p.m. window. Now we go to the 3:30 window. I'm still blown away by the fact that I actually caught the Missouri-Texas A&M game right on time. My goodness, I wouldn't call it a scary moment per se, but it was pretty darn close. So now we get to the midday portion. Not so much the 3:30 games, but we have a couple of I believe a couple of 4 p.m.ers too, so let's get to those picks. Georgia hosting Auburn. No further questions. Why hasn't Auburn fired their head coach yet? Why have they not fired him? I can't for the life of me figure that one out at all. South Carolina hosting Ole Miss. You know what, South Carolina? Kick them while they're down, okay? I'm going to go with the Gamecocks to beat Ole Miss. I want for them to beat Ole Miss so bad that Lane Kiffin's heart hurts. It's the price you pay when you put all your chips in the pot and you play from ahead all the time against all the softer teams and you don't know how to play from behind. So when that happens, you're not good enough. It'll happen again today. It's amazing to me how a guy of Lane Kiffin's intelligence just can't seem to wrap around the fact that there are more ways to play this game and win. And it's not, have it over by halftime so I can look good in front of the camera whenever it's on me every 5 to 10 minutes. I hate that. I hate it when they do that. Virginia Tech is playing Stanford this afternoon. And I'm a little torn about this one because Virginia Tech, there's always going to be something in the way of a soft spot for the Hokies, but they're on the road. Stanford picked up its first conference win last week. They got a terrific receiver in that Ottomayor, I believe. I can't remember his full name. But I'd imagine he's going to get a lot of balls thrown in his direction today. And Virginia Tech needs to kick it up a notch. They got to try a little harder, play a little harder. But I think Stanford wants to prove that they belong in the ACC, and I grabbed the wrong Lanyard. Another one, as DJ Khaled would always say. Another one. Two close calls and a Khaled reference. What more do you want for a show like this? Anyway, I'm taking the trees. It's hysterical. I mean, some things just work like clockwork, other times not so much. Ohio State is hosting Iowa. Oh, can I root for both teams? No, this is, I think after last night's Oregon win over Michigan State, Ohio State now knows that they must beat Iowa today to make this Ohio State-Oregon game next week all the more meaningful. So with that being said, they got the offense. Can Iowa slow them down? I don't think they will. Going with the Buckeyes at home over the Hawkeyes. And I almost fumbled that. That now brings us to Indiana and Northwestern. This incredible story involving the Indiana Hoosiers just keeps getting bigger and better every week. They're 5-0. They got the first shot to claim bowl eligibility over the teams that are already in line to pick up their 6th wins of the season. But Indiana is the first team out for a shot at bowl eligibility. And while I may like Northwestern, it's going to be so nice to see Indiana in a bowl game with a winning record, and I'm taking the Hoosiers on the road to get the job done in that matchup. So now that brings us to the 4 o'clockers. There's 2 of them. Hard picks to make, but for different reasons. West Virginia is visiting Oklahoma State in Stillwater. West Virginia needs to win this game more than I need to take another drink of Coke, which I'm about to do now. Now it's getting dry already. Now suppose you want me to talk like Saban. Nick Saban, by the way, West Virginia guy. That much we know is true. West Virginia, can they hand Oklahoma State a 3rd straight loss? Well, I don't know how they'll do it. There's a part of me that really, my head says Oklahoma State because they need to win this game. My heart, however, says West Virginia because they need to win this game more so to increase their chances of bowl eligibility. The wins have got to start coming, and it's not going to get any easier. I mean, down the road, I believe they got Kansas State, they got Arizona, UCF, I think, is also in there, Texas Tech. They got to win them. And thankfully, they don't have to play that team from Boulder, who shall remain nameless. So we're going with West Virginia. Then comes maybe the hardest pick of the week, Rutgers and Nebraska. I want Rutgers to win in the worst way. I do. And it ain't just, the fact that it's Nebraska they're playing against. I've been kind of riding on Nebraska's coattails a little bit, only because I believe they're, 2 wins away from bowl eligibility? And boy, wouldn't that be awesome if they get it. Rutgers, meanwhile, I think has the tougher of the 2 roads between theirs and Nebraska's to get a bowl, and something's got to give today. If Rutgers wins, I'll be a happy guy. This is where the heart and the head again are at a conflict and trying to figure out which team in red am I picking. Well, Got to go with Big Red this time. I hope this is a good one. I really do. It's going to be difficult to flip-flop back and forth between that one and West Virginia, along with maybe Ohio State and Iowa, all three of them. So we're going to take Nebraska at home over Rutgers, with apologies to my wonderful friends at the College Football Commission. I still love your boys, okay? I do. I don't know how Rutgers is going to try and win today, but if they think of it this way, if Rutgers does it with a ball control offense and it keeps Dylan Raiola off the field, then everything's going to be fine, I think. So that's your midday window. Now we get down to the business of the night timers. And oh, by the way, USC over Minnesota to start with. This is the absolutely, positively last time that this lanyard is getting worn. I originally had ordered a new polyester lanyard, but then canceled it for undisclosed reasons. But just to be clear, a new one is set to arrive via Amazon tomorrow. Pretty cheap, too, if I might add. But USC on the road at Minnesota, with apologies to PJ Fleck, he's a great coach. Team might not be where it needs to be right now, but I'll tell you what, they give it their best every time out. So we have that one. We might as well stick with the West Coast for another matchup. Oregon State over Colorado State. Just does not look weird. It looks ugly having this Oregon State lanyard over my Ducks. Trojans, too. Get them out of here. Jesus. Yeah, we're having more lanyard fun than normal this week, and we haven't dropped anything. So we're on pace to perhaps going two full lanyard Saturdays without a drop. Clemson at Florida State. Speaking of new lanyards, I need a new one for Clemson. I do. This is one of the first lanyards I ever bought, and that was before I started the collection. So we definitely, I think, are going to need a new one, because these ones here don't show up as well as some of the more recent ones. But I am taking Clemson on the road over Florida State. And this is another one that's got me feeling a little concerned, considering that Florida State finally wised up and changed quarterbacks. DJU is DJ gone. I don't have to say his name anymore. Not gone as in dismissed from the team, but just the fact that Florida State needs to change their tune a little bit. Clemson, meanwhile, has caught fire. They are on course for a potential ACC showdown with Miami. More on the Canes in a moment. But USC, they got Florida State to deal with. And if anybody ever dares to think that this is going to be a stepping stone, doesn't know the rivalry of Clemson and Florida State like I do, it ain't going to be no walk in the park. It never is. No matter the records, the rankings, they'll get it on for 60 punishing minutes. Only this time, Clemson, I think, is more equipped to handle their business than Florida State. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So we have that one. Boise State hosting Utah State. Ashton Genty is going to run wild tonight on the blue turf. So we're going blue for Boise State in their matchup. And that leads us now to Tennessee and Arkansas. ABC's got it. And this one here should be a piece of cake, I would think. I'm going to go with Tennessee. But I have to wonder about Bobby Petrino, what he's bringing to the table offensively, and can Tennessee's defense match up with what Bobby's bringing? I say they can and they will. Iowa State hosting Baylor. The only thing about this pick that's any different is the fact that Iowa State is wearing all black tonight against Baylor, but I have no black lanyard to support it, so we'll just stick with what works. After all, we're dealing with traditional team colors, so we're taking Iowa State over Baylor. I think I'm done using Baylor as a spoiler team, so get them out of here. Nevada, San Jose State, True TV, 7:30. I am going with the Spartans. And if Nevada wins, then I didn't do my homework and I deserve a failing grade for that. We already mentioned USC and Minnesota. That's been done. Michigan and Washington, a rematch of last year's national championship game. Expect anything different? No. You go blue and then you go home. So we're taking Michigan on the road. Despite Washington, giving it their best both on the field and off the field, Michigan, I think, is still too much for Washington. Duke visiting Georgia Tech. Duke with a shot at bowl eligibility. Georgia Tech really has not quite been the same since the opening day win in Dublin against Florida State. I mean, we didn't know at the time what life's rich pageant was going to produce along the way. Certainly in the case of the Duke Blue Devils, if you were to tell me they were going to be 5-0 with a shot at bowl eligibility already, I wouldn't have believed it. Well, I'm believing it now. And I am taking Duke to have their ticket punched for bowl eligibility. Get them T-shirts ready. And at the same time, we'll get the tree ready. Arizona State is hosting Kansas. Arizona State, and I have to do this real quick because it's imperative that we look at things from the standpoint of records here. This is a game, I think, for Arizona State, being that it's, a second chance to pick up your first conference win. You're 3-1, and you have to either be a pretender or a contender. I'm going to try my best with this one, thinking that Kansas has fallen off its perch a little bit. Yeah, they regained some footing, but Arizona State, I'm taking them at home. And I'm going to see whether or not that pick holds up when I wake up tomorrow morning. Miami is visiting Cal. The only thing great about this matchup is the fact that the College Game Day people are out there, and Marshawn Lynch is making his celebrity picks. But let's face facts, folks. He's rooting for Cal. The smart ones are picking Miami. Even if you hate them, or if you're follow college football religiously, or just being a casual fan, you know Miami. You know the history with the U. Like it or not, they're always going to be in the conversation, no matter what. So we're taking Miami at home, or rather on the road at Cal, which now brings us to Texas Tech and Arizona. Noah Fafita, it's time to turn it up a notch. You and Mr. McMillan are going to have a field day tonight on Texas Tech. Beat them so bad that Mahomie feels it. Bear down, kick ass, take every name that Texas Tech has, especially Mahomie. So that takes care of all those picks. And now, the unexpected pick that we almost overlooked. It is a big one. Number 9, Missouri. Number 25, Texas A&M. And let's face facts, folks. This could go either way. It usually does. With such disparaging rankings to look at. But there's one problem, and his name is Luther Burden. I don't think Texas A&M has the kind of defense that could shut the guy down, so the 12th man is going to be quiet today while Brady Cook and Luther Burden pick them apart, one by freaking one. It's Missouri on the road at College Station, and now the moment of truth. The original moment of truth for this week 6. Slippery Rock and IUP. We did step out of the box, outside the box for this one. And it's definitely a game, a rivalry that needs to have a backstory. And my backstory really didn't start to this. I really didn't start noticing this until a couple of years ago, where both teams, I think, were ranked in the top 10. It was homecoming week at Slippery Rock, and IUP went in to the Rock and took a big chunk of it, and the win that went with it, all the way back to Indiana County. Now, there's a part of me that wants to look at the matchup, and this is where I'm doing this on the fly here. So let's see what we can dig up, if we can, about the matchup. It's homecoming. Okay, we don't have to go any deeper than this. 2 years ago, I do believe, I think it was 2, might have been 3. But we mentioned that, and just so happens that it's IUP's homecoming today. Does the word karma mean anything? I think it does. And besides, if they schedule these games on homecoming every year, ho, 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 ho. What a thrill it must be to be an employee of both of those colleges and going through all the preparations to get ready for homecoming. I should know. I work at W&J. But Slippery Rock, come on, really, there is no other pick to make. Simply because I don't have a lanyard for IUP. And on top of all of this, it's better to say IUP than instead of saying Indiana County University, Pennsylvania, which, when you break it down, it either reads ICUP or ICUP. I'm having an Austin P moment again. Nevertheless, that's the best I can do for Slippery Rock and IUP. But I am so happy. Actually, that was the third Hail Mary that I completed in this broadcast today, because when you consider that I discovered a Big One game at the absolute last minute, when you consider that I just found out seconds ago that it's homecoming at IUP, and there's one other thing that I think buried in my assortment of lanyards here. Really, this was nothing more than a Hail Mary show. So somehow, some way, I've completed all the necessary passes, made all the necessary picks. Even the ones that I didn't think I had to make were made, and by golly, we got it done. So, that's going to do it for what was a very interesting Week 6 Lanyard selection Saturday. And that will put the wraps on it for sure. As you know, for the next 3 weeks, I will be in Cameron to do the live shows on Facebook. And cannot wait to get back down there and do what I do best. Make picks, take names, kick ass, cheer hard, cheer loud, cheer proud. You get the idea. And for that, we bid you adieu to Week 6. Oh yeah, by the way, the Pick 6 tomorrow. Get to talk about all that happened this week in Week 6. See if we can find 6 takeaways from them and from all the games. And once we get around to the business of getting those takeaways, we'll bring them all back in one fell swoop. So until tomorrow for the Pick 6, it's yours truly, Brandon Rutherman, signing off for the College Football Kickoff Show. Enjoy your college football Saturday. Peace out.